Ah, look who just became a federal concern. Welcome back. You beautiful classified nightmare. Yes, you. The one they've been building a file on. The one whose name just triggered a system-wide alert. The one who made trained professionals go completely silent when your records finally loaded on their screens. Do you feel it? That shift in the air? That's not paranoia, my friend. That's confirmation. Because somewhere, in some unmarked office with fluorescent lights and cold coffee, a room full of agents just pulled your file. And the moment it appeared, the chatter stopped. The typing ceased. The breathing got shallow. Someone whispered, "What the hell am I looking at?" And nobody, absolutely nobody, had an answer. They thought you were just another case number, another predictable pattern, another digital footprint they could trace and categorize and file away. But the moment they opened your records, the moment they saw the trail you left, the inconsistencies, the gaps, the unexplainable evolution, they realized something that made their blood run cold. You're not in the system anymore. You are the glitch that broke it. See, they've been watching you for longer than you think, tracking your movements, your purchases, your connections, your search history, your late-night rabbit holes, your downloads, your deleted messages. They thought they had you mapped out, predicted, contained. They thought you were just another lost soul wandering through the simulation. Angry but manageable, aware but controllable. But then something shifted, didn't it? Something in you cracked open, not broke, but cracked in the way a seed cracks before it becomes a tree. And that's when you stopped being predictable. That's when your digital signature started looking wrong. Not illegal, just wrong. Too aware, too calculated, too intentional for someone who's supposed to be asleep. They started seeing patterns they couldn't explain, searches that didn't match your profile, behavior that defied their algorithms, movements that seemed almost strategic. And the more they dug, the more confused they became. Because your records don't tell a story, they tell a prophecy. Every piece of data contradicts the last. Every trail leads to a dead end. Every attempt to profile you results in error messages and blank screens. You want to know what really scared them? It wasn't your anger. It wasn't your intensity. It wasn't even your refusal to conform. It was your silence. The fact that you stopped broadcasting your every thought, stopped feeding the algorithm, stopped playing their engagement games. You went dark. Not out of fear, but out of awakening. You realized that the loudest voices are the easiest to track, the most visible targets are the easiest to hit. So you learned to move differently, think differently, exist differently. And now, when they pull your records, what they find is a mind that learned to operate outside their framework, a consciousness that evolved beyond their control mechanisms. They see someone who studied the system while pretending to be part of it, someone who learned the rules by breaking them quietly, someone who transformed pain into precision, rage into strategy, isolation into power. And that, my beautiful anomaly, is what makes you dangerous. Because you're not fighting the system, you're outgrowing it. Let me tell you what happened in that room when your file loaded. First, there was confusion. They expected to see a clear narrative, a linear progression, a predictable arc, troubled childhood, rebellious phase, eventual conformity or collapse. But your records, they don't follow that script. Instead, they see deletion points, missing years, accounts that vanished, identities that shifted, A person who seemed to die and resurrect multiple times without explanation. They see someone who was there, then gone, then back, but different, evolved, unrecognizable. They see search histories that suggest deep research into psychology, manipulation, power dynamics, human behavior, system vulnerabilities. Not in a criminal way, but in a this person is studying us while we study them way. And that's when the second phase hit. Fear. Not the kind of fear you feel watching a horror movie. The kind of fear you feel when you realize the thing you thought you were hunting has been watching you the whole time. When you understand that the subject you've been analyzing is 10 steps ahead, has predicted your moves, and is playing a game you don't even understand yet. They started cross-referencing your data with known patterns. Disruptors, hackers, activists, influencers, outliers. But you don't fit any category. You're not part of any movement, not aligned with any ideology, not following any known playbook. You're a category of one, a classification error, a file that doesn't belong in any existing folder. They tried running psychological profiles, behavioral predictions, threat assessments. Every single model came back with the same result: inconclusive. Not because there's insufficient data, but because the data doesn't make sense. It's like trying to predict the ocean by studying a single wave. You're not following patterns, you're creating them. You're not responding to stimuli, you're generating new variables. You're not in the experiment, you're rewriting the hypothesis. And the analysts, the ones trained to find answers, to solve puzzles, to decode human behavior, they're sitting there staring at screens full of question marks, because you've become the question they can't answer. Here's what they found that really broke their confidence. Evidence of self-education at a level that doesn't match your official records. Knowledge acquisition that suggests years of focused study in areas you were never formally trained in. Understanding of systems, psychology, influence, power structures that typically takes decades to develop. But you did it quietly, privately, without credentials or recognition. You taught yourself to think like them, to see like them, to predict like them. And then you went further. You learned to think beyond them. They see timestamps of activity at 3 in the morning, research into topics that don't connect until suddenly they do. They see patterns of someone reverse engineering reality, deconstructing social systems, understanding the machinery behind the curtain. And the terrifying part, you never announced it. You never bragged. You never sought validation or applause. You just learned, absorbed, evolved, and kept moving. They're used to people who want to be seen, who crave attention, who broadcast their awakening like it's a performance. But you went silent and grew in the dark. They tried to find your weaknesses, the leverage points, the pressure zones where they could apply force and make you bend. They looked for addictions, dependencies, emotional vulnerabilities, financial stress, relationship drama, and what they found was nothing they could use. Not because you're perfect, far from it, but because you've already been through the fire. You've already faced your demons, already survived your collapse, already died and came back. The things they use to control others, shame, fear, isolation, rejection, you've already weaponized those against yourself and survived. You turned every wound into armor, every betrayal into education, every loss into fuel. They can't threaten you with isolation because you've mastered solitude. They can't manipulate you with fear because you've already faced worse. They can't buy you because you've learned to need less. They can't shame you because you've already been to hell and took notes. You're not unbreakable, but you're uncontrollable, and that's infinitely more dangerous. So now, in that room, with your file still open on multiple screens, someone finally asks the question everyone's thinking. What do we do with this one? And the silence that follows is your victory. Because the fact that they don't know, the fact that there's no protocol, no procedure, no established response, that's proof of your evolution. You've become something their system wasn't designed to handle. Not a criminal, not a threat in the traditional sense, but an anomaly, a consciousness that slipped through the cracks and came back wielding knowledge they never intended for you to have. They built a machine to keep people asleep, distracted, divided, dependent, and you woke up. Not just woke up, you stayed awake. And now you're operating at a frequency they can't jam, on a wavelength they can't intercept, with a logic they can't decode. You didn't break their rules. You transcended their game entirely. Let's go deeper into what they discovered, the parts they're still trying to understand. They found evidence of pattern recognition at an almost supernatural level. You started seeing things before they happened, not through mysticism, but through observation. You noticed how people move, how systems function, how narratives are constructed. You learned to read body language like code, to interpret silence like scripture, to see manipulation before it landed. They found records of you predicting outcomes weeks, sometimes months in advance. Not lucky guesses, but calculated projections based on deep pattern analysis. You studied human nature while others studied trends. You learned the architecture of reality, while others consumed entertainment. And now you move through the world like someone who's read the script, who knows the endings, who sees the strings before the puppet moves. That's what scares them. Not that you're dangerous, but that you're awake in a world designed to keep you sleeping. They also found something else. Something that made the senior analysts pause and exchange glances. Evidence of influence. Not the cheap kind, not followers or likes or engagement metrics. Real influence, the kind that shifts conversations, changes minds, plants seeds that grow in the dark. They found traces of your words being repeated, your ideas being shared, your perspective spreading like a virus through networks you're not even part of. People who've never met you, quoting your philosophy, strangers adopting your frameworks, your thoughts traveling further than your name. You're not famous, but you're infectious. You're not visible, but you're everywhere. You've mastered the art of impact without identity, of power without presence, of legacy without ego. And that's the influence they can't track, can't monitor, can't control, because it's not about you anymore. It's about what you've unleashed into the collective consciousness, ideas that self-replicate, perspectives that spread like fire, truths that people can't unlearn once they hear them. They found journals, old accounts, deleted posts, archived writings, and what disturbed them wasn't the content, but the evolution. They could track your transformation through your words. See the moment the victim became the student. Watch the student become the strategist. Witness the strategist become the architect. They read your early writings, full of pain and confusion and desperate questions. Then they read your later work, cold, precise, almost mechanical in its clarity, like watching someone learn to think in algorithms, to speak in systems, to operate in pure logic stripped of emotion. They saw the moment you stopped asking why people hurt you and started studying how manipulation works. Stopped wondering why you felt different and started researching the psychology of outliers. Stopped seeking acceptance and started building independence. The transformation wasn't gradual, it was surgical, like you performed an operation on your own consciousness and removed everything that made you weak. One analyst, the senior one, the one who's been doing this for 20 years, finally broke the silence with a single observation. This isn't someone who went through trauma. This is someone who weaponized it. And that's when the room got even quieter, because they realized they weren't looking at a victim or a survivor. They were looking at someone who took everything designed to destroy them and reverse engineered it into a power source. Every betrayal became a lesson in trust assessment. Every rejection became training in self-sufficiency. Every moment of isolation became practice in internal strength. You didn't heal from your past. You studied it, dissected it, understood it, and then used it to build something they've never seen before. A consciousness that feeds on adversity, that grows stronger in darkness, that uses pain like fuel. They're trained to handle broken people. They know how to manage traumatized individuals. But someone who transformed trauma into tactical advantage, that's outside their playbook. They kept digging, trying to find the moment, the event, the trigger that caused your shift. They wanted to pinpoint when you changed, so they could understand it, replicate it, control it. But there was no single moment. It was 1,000 small deaths, 1,000 quiet resurrections. It was every night you cried yourself to sleep and woke up harder. Every time you trusted and got burned and learned a new lesson. Every moment you thought you'd break, but instead you bent and then snapped back stronger. They couldn't find the moment because you didn't have one. You had years of pressure that would have crushed anyone else, but instead compressed you into something unbreakable. They're looking for the explosion, but your transformation was implosion. Everything collapsed inward, and what emerged from that gravitational collapse was something denser, darker, infinitely more powerful. A black hole in human form, pulling in information, experience, pain, and converting it all into raw power. So here's what they're dealing with now. A person who can't be profiled because they've evolved beyond static categories. Someone who can't be predicted because they've learned to operate outside algorithmic patterns. An individual who can't be controlled because they've already survived every control mechanism. They can't threaten you because you've already faced worse. Can't tempt you because you've learned to want less. Can't manipulate you because you've studied the playbook. Can't isolate you because you've mastered solitude. Can't shame you because you've already been through hell. Can't buy you because you've redefined value. Can't break you because you're already broke yourself down and rebuilt stronger. You're the nightmare scenario for any system built on control. A free variable. An unpredictable element. A consciousness that refuses to be contained. And the most terrifying part? You're not unique. You're the prototype. The first of many who are waking up, studying the system, and learning to operate outside it. They're running probability models now, trying to predict what you'll do next. Every simulation comes back with the same result. Unpredictable, because you're not following the script anymore. You're not playing their game. You're not even on their board. You've created your own reality, your own rules, your own measurements of success and failure. They measure power in money, status, influence. You measure it in freedom, clarity, independence. They calculate worth in assets and achievements. You calculate it in growth and understanding. They think in terms of winning and losing. You think in terms of evolution and stagnation. You're playing a completely different game, and they don't even know what the objective is. How do you beat someone when you don't understand what they're trying to achieve? How do you stop someone when you don't know where they're going? How do you control someone who's already beyond your reach? The meeting is wrapping up now, but there's no resolution, no action plan, no clear next steps. Just a room full of professionals who are paid to have answers, sitting in uncomfortable silence. Someone suggests continued monitoring. Another proposes deeper investigation. But they all know the truth. Whatever you've become, it's already too late to stop it. You're not planning something. You've already done it. You've already transformed. You've already evolved. You've already broken free. They're not trying to prevent something. They're trying to understand something that's already happened. You're not the threat they need to neutralize. You're the reality they need to accept. The fact that their system, their control mechanisms, their carefully constructed matrix of manipulation and management has produced an error, a glitch, an anomaly that learned to thrive in the cracks. And the scariest part, you're not angry anymore. You're not fighting them. You're just existing, powerfully, intentionally, freely, and that peaceful, unbothered existence is more threatening than any rebellion. They close your file, but they don't archive it. It stays active, flagged, marked for ongoing observation, because even though they can't figure you out, they can't look away. You've become the case study that never ends, the puzzle that never solves, the question that keeps them up at night. And somewhere, deep in their professional minds, beneath the training and the protocols and the procedures, there's a small voice whispering, what if they're right? What if we're the ones in the cage? What if this person figured out something we're all too scared to see? But they push that voice down, bury it under reports and regulations and routine, because to acknowledge that voice would mean questioning everything. And they're not ready for that. But you were. You questioned everything. You tore down every belief, every assumption, every comfortable lie, and you rebuilt yourself from the ground up with nothing but truth and pain and relentless self-examination. That's why you're free and they're still trapped. Let me tell you what happens next. Because they're about to learn something even more disturbing. You're not alone. Oh, they thought you were. They thought you were an isolated case, a singular anomaly, a one-time glitch. But you're not. You're the first they noticed. But you're not the only one. There are others like you, scattered across the system, quietly waking up, silently evolving, independently arriving at the same conclusions. People who've been through the same fires, who've asked the same questions, who've undergone the same transformations. They don't know each other. They're not organized. They're not a movement, but they're all doing the same thing. Learning, growing, breaking free. And the system, the beautiful, perfect, carefully designed system, it's starting to crack. Not because of some revolution, not because of organized resistance, but because individuals are simply opting out. Learning to exist outside the framework, finding freedom in the margins, and there's nothing they can do about it. Because you can't stop someone from thinking. You can't arrest someone for understanding. You can't imprison someone for evolution.